Hello everyone, my name's Ian Rudge and welcome to Bravo 22 and it's live. This is made possible by the Royal British Legion and the Drive Project. Now I've been a Bravo 22 member now for nearly 4 years and I've done acting, I've done painting and I've done sculpting amongst other things. Now let's stop you there because I know exactly what you're all thinking. You're thinking, that's that bloke off Love Island.
What's happening?
Well, no, you're wrong. Right, it's my pleasure to introduce the main event. This is the very first art session led by Al Johnson. Now, Al is a professional artist and sculptor. She's also director of art for Bravo 22. Now, I'm sure a few of you have met Al before on one of her many courses. Now, Bravo 22 Live is all about bringing the creatives into your home. Now, if you could do us a favour and ask your military mates to maybe subscribe and maybe like and share us on Facebook, that'd be great if you could do that. Thank you. Now, Al is going to speak about a chair. Now, not just any old chair. This chair belonged to a genius. So without any further ado, Al, it's over to you.
Good morning. Very nice to see you, Ian. And I'm hoping lots of you are seeing me. I can't see you, sadly. So I'm going to talk about this painting of a chair. You might think a painting of a chair is not very interesting, but I think it's got hidden depths. So I'm hoping it's up on your screen. I can't see it, but I'm hoping you can. The chair was painted by Van Gogh, a Dutch painter who lived mostly in France. It's in the National Gallery, and you can, when we can, you can go to the National Gallery and have a look at it. And in fact, you would be amongst many, because there are many people who go specifically to see this painting, because Van Gogh is so well known now. But at the time he painted it, much less so. We'll think about that a bit in a minute. First of all, let's just have a look at the painting. It's I always think it's best to look first, to really look. So the chair is taking up most of the painting. It's very dominant. It's in the corner of a room, or it seems to be in the corner of a room. And the door, there's a doorway just next to it, and you can see a big hinge on the door. So there's a doorway which you would have to kind of move the chair to get out the door, I think. There's a box in the corner with something in it. It's very difficult to see what that is. It's on a floor which may be made of tiles, terracotta tiles. I think it's a wooden chair with a rush seat, and there's a couple of things on the chair itself. But of course, the most important thing about the painting, and the most clearly obvious thing, is that there's nobody there. That the person who was sitting in the chair has gone. Gone, leaving behind some of his belongings, but certainly not in the painting. So in a sense, I think the chair is there to represent the person. And that's what we're going to kind of look at in this session. We're just going to see if we can figure out why Van Gogh painted himself almost as the chair. He's using the chair as the representation of himself. Why didn't he paint himself? He did paint himself loads of times, but in this painting he hasn't. But he's given us lots of clues. The colours are interesting. They're very bright, quite harsh colours, yellows and greens, on this sort of red, brick red terracotta floor. It's made of very thick paint. At the time Van Gogh painted this, there were lots of new paints, which you could get in tubes, finally. The tube was a great invention for artists. And paints were made by machines now, so they were very thick, and you could scrape the paints on. You could use knives or brushes, or you could use your hands to kind of get the paint on. So very, it's called impasto. It's the proper term for it, very thick paint. let's have a think about the chair itself. What kind of a chair are we looking at? It seems to me to be a chair that's not designed for comfort. I wonder if it was made by a craftsman or whether it was made by a workman, or maybe even by Van Gogh himself. Maybe Van Gogh made his own chairs. Seems to have been made from green wood, which is a way of making chairs when the wood is very fresh and the joints all kind of become tighter as the chair gets older. So there's no glues or fixings involved. But it's a kind of all-purpose chair, utilitarian chair. I wonder which room of the house it's in. I wonder if a way of really thinking about this chair and about what Van Gogh was thinking is to actually sit in the chair. Of course, in a painting, you're using your imagination. The most important thing in a painting is the investment that the viewer makes. The artist works very hard to get what he wants on the canvas, but then it only works if you, as the viewer, are prepared to spend time. So if you step into the painting, metaphorically, in your mind, if you step into the painting and sit on the chair, now you're going to have trouble getting into this room, I think, because first of all, you're going to have to get through that door. And you might need to move the chair out of the way. Imagine you're sort of coming round the door. The chair is scraping across the floor a bit, maybe. You're going to shut the door. You're going to sit on the chair. But before you do, pick up those things that are on the chair. Not sure what they are. What do you think? I wonder if it's a pipe. Might be a pipe. That would be a very good symbol, wouldn't it, of the person that's no longer there, Van Gogh's absence. Some people say it's a handkerchief on the chair, or it could be a paper with tobacco in. Either way, you need to move those things. So if you put those on the floor maybe and then sit on the chair, just have a think. How does it feel? You're sitting on this chair. You're sitting on Van Gogh's chair. How does it feel? Is it comfortable? Is it squeaky? Is it making any noise? Is it scraping on the floor? Is it creaking? Do you feel stable? Do you feel comfortable there? Does it feel safe on this chair? Does it feel big enough for you? Does it feel like it's a chair for a small person, a thin person, or is it a chair that's expansive, big enough for anyone who might want to sit on it? I wonder what you feel as you sit on this chair. I'm going to ask Ian, actually, because Ian is, I hope, still watching. You haven't gone for a cup of tea, Ian, have you?
No, I'm still here, Al. I don't think it's a chair that you sit down and relax for the night and watch the telly.
You don't?
Because I think it's very much a chair that he'd use to paint his pictures.
And that's a nice idea. Yeah.
It's his chair, and I don't think he'd be very happy if someone sat in it. I think he'd be annoyed.
Do you think he's territorial about his chair?
Definitely, that is his chair.
I've got a husband like that. He's very territorial about his chair. Yes, we do that, don't we? We tend to have a chair we sit in.
Yeah, that is. He'd take that chair to parties, and he'd sit down.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Take it on his back.
Yeah.
Have we got any questions coming up?
Yeah, Shirley's asking. Well, what you answered. Yeah. What do you think is on the chair? Do you think it might be his ear?
I knew that ear was going to come up. We'll come to the ear later. It's the two facts. There are two facts about Van Gogh that everyone knows. One is that he cut his ear off, and the other is that he never sold anything. Both are true, actually. Sadly.
What do we know about him when he painted this? Was he? That's a question from Alice Driver.
Well, we know quite a lot about him, actually, and we're going to come on to what the context of the painting in a moment. But we'll come back to that, because I want you to try and imagine first what his state of mind was when he painted the picture. So should we go back to the painting? So from where you are sitting on the chair, I want you to imagine you're in this room. We've seen that it's a corner of a room with a door and a box and a terracotta floor, but that's a tiled floor, but that's not much really. Can you imagine from where you're sitting on the chair what you're seeing around you? Can you see anything beyond the chair? I wonder what's in front of you. Is it, what kind of room are we in, do we think? What part of the house are we in? I wonder where the window is. That's another thing useful in paintings, to think about light sources. Even if the light is not, the window is not apparent. Some painters put the window in so we can see where the light's coming from. But Van Gogh hasn't. But I do think there's references to the light, because it seems to be coming from the left, because you can see the bars on the back of the chair are much brighter on the left-hand side, and the bars on the legs. So it seems like the light's coming in from the left. So maybe the window is over on the left. But I wonder what else is in this room. Is it full of furniture? Is it a busy room? Is it a room that has a particular purpose in the house? Ian, what do you think?
The question, what I think, I agree with Sally Ann. She sent in a question, is it a scullery or a studio, or does it represent his loneliness? I mean, personally, I think that chair is pointed to all his paintings that are on a wall in one side of his room.
He's sitting looking, he's got his pipe and his tobacco, and he's sitting looking at the wall of all his paintings. Sally Ann's ideas about this scullery is very, very good idea. I think it might be a kitchen chair. It seems to be, from what we felt sitting in it, that it's not particularly comfortable. It's not a chair you'd hang about and you'd watch television in. It might be a chair for painting, as you said, Ian. It seems to me to be a chair for a space that's not where you're not going to hang around. You're not looking for comfort. It's not an easy chair. I like the idea of him sitting, looking at paintings. What else did Sally Ann say? Representing loneliness. That's a really, I mean, I think this is a very interesting idea, and we're going to come on to this mood that Van Gogh is in at the time, and whether it is about his loneliness. If we go back to the painting again, when Van Gogh starts the painting, or the period in which he paints it, he's in Arles. He's in the south of France. He goes because he wants to experience the sun partly, but he goes really at the wrong time of year. He goes sort of towards the autumn. But he, or at least Gauguin, his friend, comes in the autumn. He invites Gauguin, his painter friend. In order to prepare for Gauguin coming, he paints the 4 sunflower paintings that are enormously famous. One of them is in the National Gallery. And he gets his friend to come and stay. And he's feeling very optimistic. In fact, he's so optimistic that this is not the only chair. He has a whole group of these chairs made to accommodate an artistic community. He wants other artists to come. He wants them to experience what he's experiencing, which is the wonderful light in the south, the sunflower fields, the wheat fields, the extraordinary colours. He's using some really interesting colours at this time. These very sort of acid yellows and greens, which are quite new colours. As I said, he's using paints which are available in a new form, much more viscous, much thicker. So he's feeling very optimistic, and we've got in the painting a couple of things that refer to that optimism. On the chair, we've looked at the pipe, which we picked up when we were sitting on the chair. The pipe and the tobacco. Now, the pipe was used in traditional painting, in traditional Dutch painting, because Van Gogh was Dutch, as a symbol of life itself. And this seems an odd symbol for life, really, because nowadays we know that smoking's not very good for you. But at the time, it was a symbol for life, because in order to make a pipe work, you have to breathe through the pipe. You have to suck in and out, which is what we do, breathing. So the pipe itself becomes a symbol for life. Behind us, behind the chair, rather, in the box, there's something growing, and it could be onions. Although I'm wondering if you'd have onions growing in the kitchen. I think it might be bulbs, maybe flower bulbs. And those are always, bulbs, regrowth is always a reference for life itself, for the regeneration, renewal. So you've got some symbols that are quite positive. And at the time, Van Gogh talked about the bright yellows and the bright reds of the tiles. The colours that seem a bit acidic to us now, perhaps he saw differently in the light of this south of France. So he invited his friend Gauguin to stay, and he painted, as well as the sunflowers, he painted a picture of Gauguin's chair. And Gauguin's chair was completely different from Van Gogh's chair. Van Gogh's chair was the chair in the day, he said, and Gauguin's chair was the night chair, and it's lit with a candle. It's a much softer chair. It's an easy chair. It's the mood is much softer and darker. It's greens and reds rather than reds and yellows. And they were painted as a sort of pendant pair. It's a kind of, artists quite often painted portraits, marriage portraits. They were known as pendant portraits, and it's as if he's kind of indicating his great friendship for Gauguin. Ian, what do you think? Is there optimism here?
I don't think there is optimism, because the chair is actually empty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that says a lot. Even
these clues we've got don't seem to really overturn this worry about the pessimism there, do they?
Yeah. We have a couple of questions, Al. Mick Carroll says, the perspective of it is a bit wonky. Is that deliberate? And also,
good point, yeah.
And also, Tip Cullen is asking, what would the topic of conversation be between Van Gogh and Gauguin, do you think?
Well, good question. Both good questions. I'll come back to perspective in a minute. It is absolutely skew-if, isn't it, the perspective? You feel that the chair is sliding. But I'll come back to that in just a moment. The mood between, it depends when you're asking, really. Gauguin stays for 2 months. When he arrives, it's all fantastic. He's painted the house, it was known as the Yellow House. He's painted the house yellow. He's painted the sunflower portraits. He's had the chairs made ready for company. By the time Gauguin leaves, they are arguing all the time. They, in fact, it becomes more and more violent, the arguments. During the intervening period, they do actually work together quite a lot. There are two wonderful paintings of the lady who ran the local cafe, and Van Gogh and Gauguin sat next to each other and painted the same woman because they found her fascinating. She was a real character locally. So they did work together. They gained a lot from the relationship, but maybe just Gauguin stayed too long. Who knows? I don't think either of them were easy characters. Certainly by close to Christmas, after Gauguin's been there for 2 months, they fall out in a big way, and Van Gogh threatens Gauguin with a knife. Gauguin sensibly departs for a hotel, and then goes back to Paris, decides not to stay anymore. Van Gogh is in a very bad play and sends it to a local prostitute. He doesn't cut off his whole ear. I think that's one of the misunderstandings about that moment. But he certainly does damage himself. Gauguin and Van Gogh never speak to each other again, although they do interact sort of artistically in some ways. There is a painting made by Gauguin which is based on a drawing by Van Gogh from this period. In terms of the perspective, which was mentioned, the perspective is really weird, and I feel the chair is very unstable. It's as if it's sliding forwards, as if we're going to slide across this terracotta floor. I feel the chair itself is unstable. It certainly creaks in my mind, and I think it doesn't feel like it's a chair that would hold your weight for very long. The colours, as we've said, are very harsh, very kind of rather sour colours. Even the objects that we've already looked at, the pipe and the tobacco, which are symbols for life, also have another reference, because Charles Dickens said that the pipe was a cure for melancholia, for depression, that smoking was so maybe that's the reference. If it's a handkerchief on the chair rather than just paper, it's very hard to tell, even looking at the real thing. That could be a sign for grief, because the handkerchief is very often included in paintings of people who've lost someone. We do know that Van Gogh was very fond of a painting, or an engraving rather, by Luke Fields, who was a very well-known draftsman at the time, and he made a drawing of Charles Dickens of Charles Dickens's chair after he died, the day after he died, as a symbol of the absence of Dickens. And Van Gogh was very fond of that drawing. He wrote to his brother Theo, who was his main support, who without Theo he wouldn't have lived even as long as he did. And he said to Theo, "Empty chairs, there are many, many more to come. Many, many more will come." So he's just using the chair, I think, as the reference for his own loneliness, his own sort of solitariness. Have we got any more questions we should look at?
Yes, we have, Al. We've got a question from Alice Driver.
Yep.
She said, do you know the name of the painting that they did of the woman in the cafe? And also a question from Tip. Even though it could be a warm and social part of the house, if it were a kitchen, do you think it reflects Vinny's state of mind, a very cold state of mind, if it was a kitchen, that is?
Sorry, I didn't. Yes, I think they're cold colours, actually, aren't they? Isn't it often referred to as the centre of the house, isn't it? I don't feel this kitchen is very warm. I don't think he had any money, and I think by sort of November, December, when this was painted, it was probably very cold, and perhaps he was suffering from the cold and feeling, expressing that cold in the paint colours he chose. The paintings of the local cafe lady are of Madame Genoux, or Giroux. I'll look it up. We know that Van Gogh, after Gauguin leaves very dramatically, that he cuts off his ear, as I said. We also know that he commits suicide later. He probably was bipolar. There've been enormous amounts of discussion about this, and a couple of years ago there was a huge conference of medics and art historians from all over the world trying to kind of come to a final conclusion about what if anything, was Van Gogh's issue. But no one really knows, of course, and we do know that he had highs and lows. But he certainly had periods where he was extremely happy, where he was confident and enjoying life and enjoying painting. And his letters, which are wonderful, really tell us a great deal about, you know, his sort of changes of moods. And I think that perhaps the most important aspect of the painting, in a sense, is not the chair itself, but of the box behind the chair, because on that box is the signature, Vincent. Normally artists write their signatures quite small on the back very often. Van Gogh writes his signatures huge. Very often in his paintings, they're enormous, they're very dominant. In this painting, Vincent, it's like he's shouting, he's kind of bellowing at us, I'm here. So I think there is this very strong sense of his wanting to be present. You know, he is sad and he is depressed, but he's also very aware of his own power and his significance. So I hope you found that interesting. I hope lots of lovely comments coming. I'm sorry we haven't looked at all of them. I think I would like to leave you with a challenge. I'd like you to think about what kind of chair you are. Not physically, not in terms of appearance, but in terms of this kind of internal nature. How do you feel yourself to be? If you were very, very pompous and self-important, which of course none of you are, you might feel your appropriate chair was a throne. So have a think about that. Email them in to us. Email your answers, or make a drawing of your chair, the kind of chair that you see yourself to be, or write about it if you'd like to, and email those in. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening. It's been really good fun talking to you about the painting. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope when we can, you can get to the gallery to see it, but we've got some information about how to see it online. So thank you very much. And I'm going to hand you back to Ian. First of all, Ian, what kind of chair would you be?
I'd be a compliant chair. I'd move to wherever it makes my city comfortable.
Oh, very nice.
I'd lift the arm up to have a brew, and I'd lift the legs up to go to sleep.
Thank you very much.
Lorraine says, how old do you think he would have been when he painted? Lorraine asked, how old do you think he would have been when he painted this picture?
I think he's in his mid-30s.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay, I'm going to hand back to Ian now to wind up for us.
Okay, thanks to Al, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. So please send in your responses, paint your chairs, draw them, and send them back to us by email. And don't forget to tune in next Thursday, where there'll be a more hands-on session with Al. So thank you very much.